Hello guys and welcome back to the channel and to a video I am shamelessly nabbing from another YouTuber. I watched Leo from Geek Legion of Doom released a video very recently which was 5 movies that had a strong emotional resonance with him, which was, I love videos like this. Anything where people talk about things with a little bit more depth, anything where we get meaning, where we get to know a little bit more of that person that we're watching. And how movies affect them. Now, I've done movies that make me cry. I've probably spoken about being emotionally affected by movies many times, as all of us have. But this video was movies that have a particular emotional resonance with the person and maybe for particular reasons. And I thought it was a fabulous idea for a video. It won't be something everyone wants to do because not everyone is willing to be open and personal in that respect. But there are those of you that I know like me love that kind of thing, so hopefully Leo doesn't mind. I'm sure he actually asked in the video if anyone else, put in the comments, but here we go. I'm doing a video. I will link Leo's video right at the end and in the comments, and obviously welcome you guys, hopefully with Leo's blessing, to do the same video. It's always interesting to see what affects other people and why. Obviously, some of you may not want to, but some of you may, so let's get on with it. Now, I actually have 4 movies and 1 TV show. I wanted this list to be a little bit more personal, but I sat and I thought and I thought and I thought and I more thought about it. There is one full disclosure that I won't put in there, which, the background of it is way too dark to actually talk about on film or to share with people. I don't really know very well. But the others affect me in different ways for different reasons, so let's get on with those. So this is a movie called Murder in the First. So this movie stars Kevin Bacon, Christian Slater and Gary Oldman. And Kevin Bacon is in prison in Alcatraz for a crime he committed. He stole $5 from a post office to help try and feed him and his sister. And because it's a post office, it's a federal crime, he is sentenced to a very long stretch in prison. Now, this movie is wonderful, but the reason it had such emotional resonance with me, I can't actually explain why. There is one specific thought in this and something that it shows, which is there is a set period of time that people are meant to be in solitary confinement, but in this movie he is in solitary confinement literally for years, which is, it's not meant to be more than days. When I say solitary confinement, I mean on a wet, dank floor of a cellar in pitch black. He can't see. The only food he gets is eaten with his fingers. It's gruel. He's not been fed properly. He's not been fed every day. He befriends a little spider. It's heartbreaking. He's beaten, how he's treated in this. But I used to write a lot when I was younger as a teenager. I used to write short stories and poetry and stuff, and I didn't for many, many years. I just stopped. I think looking back in life, with maybe relationships I was in at the time, when you don't get the encouragement or you don't get people backing you and, saying they enjoy what you're, people can make you feel you're not any good at what you do. So I stopped doing it, but I watched this movie and these periods of time when this guy was in this dark just so completely overwhelmed me as to how that must be. It started me off writing again because my mind was like, what was going through his head? What was he thinking? What was he feeling? Those emotions. And it really put me in a place to sort of write as if I were him in that position. And it properly, and I remember doing a piece of writing. I was really, really proud of it at the end. I never ever showed it to anyone because I didn't want anyone to say, well, that's shite. But it sort of like stupidly started me off doing something again that I really loved, that I had stopped because this situation that this guy's in was just so overwhelming for me. I was so disturbed by it. I was so upset by it, especially that this is an innocent guy that had done nothing really wrong. And how he's treated in this is heartbreaking. It's a really hard movie to watch. Kevin Bacon is sublime in this. He's fabulous. So yeah, Murder in the First, I absolutely adore this. It's one of my favourite movies, so that's number 1 on the list of 5. These aren't in any particular order, guys, so that's the first one. Okay, the next one is a little bit lighter hearted, not so serious. So this one is a movie, I think from the 80s, is it? 1987, so this movie's called Some Kind of Wonderful. I saw this way after it was released, in the days of VHS when you rented it from the store. I would have been in my mid-teens maybe early teens when I first saw this. So this story follows, who have we got? Eric Stoltz, Mary Stuart Masterton and Leah Thompson. Now, Leah Thompson was the character I very much identified with. I believe she's the blonde, short hair, played the drums. So in this story, she's always the girl that never gets the guy. She's secretly in love with a guy who's her best friend that is in love with someone else and tells her everything about this person that he loves. When I was in my teens, I always felt like the girl that never got the guy. I had short hair, I cut it really short. First person ever to ask me on a date was a girl who thought I was a boy. That's not a lie, that's true. I just always felt overlooked. I always felt like the unattractive one of me and my friend. I always felt like the girl that never got the guy. I completely identified with her character in this, and that how much she loved this guy that just didn't know she existed. And it just so completely encompassed how I felt within myself at that age, that it's always had a special place in my heart for us girls that are never the girl that's the center of attention. We're never the girl when we're growing up that gets the guy, and it always resonated with me, so I will always love it for that reason. We need these kind of movies as well. The male equivalent is the guy that's the nerd that the girl suddenly decides that she's in love with, which I hate. It's like they try to make out that a guy that's not beefy and that's intelligent and kind and nice is a nerd that no girl looks at. It's like, no, that's not true. And the other one I don't like is the girl that wears the glasses and has her hair in a ponytail, but when someone makes her over, she's stunning, which we can say to start with anyway. Glasses does not make a person unattractive. Shock horror, neither does a ponytail. So, Murder in the First, Some Kind of Wonderful, very different movies, guys. The next one's an even odder one, and I don't know how I can even explain this to you. It's Toy Story 3. This is not one of my favourite Toy Story movies. First, obviously, will always be my favourite, and I don't love all of this movie, but as I sat watching this movie as a grown woman in the living room, and it came to the scene where, no, I saw this in the cinema, I've seen it twice. It was this, why? Anyway, let's not talk about where I saw it. That scene at the end where Andy gives his toys to the little girl, I sobbed uncontrollably, and I cannot explain to you why. Because I grew up with it, you grew up with the first ones and you grew up with these characters, and I've always loved I adore Toy Story, and it's an end of an era, and he's grown, and I can't even have as an excuse that I had a child and it was thinking about my child growing up, because I didn't at that time. But it was like an end of an era. These toys were being given to someone else, and this little girl was the new Andy, and everything was starting over again. And it was what a big deal it was for him to give his friends to this little girl. I had to leave I'm not joking, I'm welling up thinking about it now. I had to leave the room when that scene, and I think for me, the reason it affected me so much is it was almost like an end of childhood, like an end of, right, this is a new period of life and you have to move on. Now, I'm not saying I was a child, I wasn't, I was a grown woman when I saw this. But it was that end of an era. It was like closing a door on that memory of these movies that, when you're a person like we all are that do these, that do YouTube, it's like movies really affect us. We jump into them, we sort of are part of them. And Toy Story had always been such, and IMDb's playing the scene now, I can't look at it. That, they're a special part of our lives, and the idea of closing a door on that part which was so special, it's maybe like having a favorite TV show and it ends and you're going to miss these people. You don't know them, they're not people, they're actors playing characters, but you're going to miss that character. You're never going to see that character do anything new ever again. And I felt like that for me, this scene. So yeah, for some reason the scene when Andy is giving his toys to a little girl on the porch, and I think they all stand when he's driving off to college, they're all stood there. Jesus, I had to leave the room. My husband was like, what the fuck, what's wrong with you? It's Toy Story, but I couldn't help it. Proper fucking emotional resonance, guys. I'm not including in this anything where a dog dies, or any movies that's got anything to do with dogs, because I will cry. Every time I will cry. Background, I love dogs. I prefer dogs to people, that's why. So, The next one is a TV show. And this is a TV show that has done something extremely rare, which I cannot say any other TV show has ever done for me. I watched this scene, I turned away. I've spoken about it before. I'm not going to say who it is because you may not have seen it. This is The Walking Dead. It is season 7 of The Walking Dead. If you started The Walking Dead and got bored and gave up, go back to it. It gets better again. I started it, loved it, got bored after the prison season. Went away, came back when everyone started talking about Negan. I went back. Anyway, season 7, one of the characters dies. I'm not going to say who it is, but one of the characters dies in season 7. And it's hideous, and it's horrible, and it's shocking, and I didn't see it coming. I'd managed to get there with no spoilers, and it's done in such a brutal fashion. I was watching it. I had to look away. I was so upset and distressed and disgusted, and I love gore, guys, like the next of us. This just, I had never seen such a beloved character be killed, and it just like, oh my god, because you're emotionally invested with these people. I haven't been able to watch that again. Whenever it comes up on anything, whenever there's the tiny chance we're going to get a glimpse of the scene, I won't look at it. And I don't think I can say that for anything else. I cannot look at this scene. I have to put it in on emotional resonance because I can't think of, and I watch gore, I tell a lie, Cannibal Holocaust, because it's got real animal cruelty in it, and I was unlucky enough to see the version that had it in. If you like those kind of movies but don't want to see that, there is, thanks to John from Mondo Chilovic Movies, there is a version that has that completely cut out. The rest of the movie is quite a good movie. It's a video nasty, it is pretty rough, but in it there is just some animal stuff that I will never, ever, obviously I looked away, I will never watch that again. But obviously that goes without saying, if you're a sane human being you don't want to see that. But this is the first time a fictitious character's death completely destroyed me. I can't look at it. And I can't even say that this person was my favourite character because they weren't. I liked them. They were a part of the team, but I was so shocked, and I was just how it was done. I was so utterly devastated, I can't even tell you. So yeah, if you've seen The Walking Dead, you'll know exactly who that is, but oh my life. So that's 4. The last one is The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas. So this follows, it says here, The Innocent Eyes. There's a little boy called Bruno, he's 8. He is the son of a commandant at a German concentration camp, and through a barbed wire fence he befriends a little Jewish boy on the other side. This movie is about their friendship, which will have unexpected consequences at the end. Now, I'm going to actually tell you what happens at the end to explain to you why this is just so upsetting. So if you haven't seen The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas and you think you may want to see it one day, just leave the video here. Thank you so much for watching. This is the last one. I left it to last so I could spoil it. If you're not going to watch it or you've seen it, feel free to stay to the end. You know what happens. But so this guy is responsible for the deaths of many, many Jewish children, women, men. And this little boy, this little Jewish boy, should be in what they thought was showers where they were going to be gassed. Inadvertently, the little German boy, who is the son of the commandant, an important man, sneaks through to see his little friend, and he ends up following the people into one of these chambers, and this little German boy ends up being gassed at the end of this, like his friend would have been. And the reason that obviously anything to do with this is going to have emotional resonance because that's just awful, but I say this to people over and over in life, and if I'm ever asked for advice, and if people can't understand another person's perspective, one of the things I always say is you have to remove your emotion, you have to remove how you feel about this situation, you have to put yourself in this other person's shoes, get all this information from their point of view, think how you would feel if you were in their shoes, and then make your decision. I'm always saying this, and I think sometimes in life when I have a fallen out or an argument with someone, and I can't get where they're coming from, or I'm really angry, if you put yourself in that person's shoes and try and imagine why they've said what they have, why they feel how they do, why they're acting the way they are, sometimes it gives you a really good grasp if you're able to do that. Something I do a lot. In this, it's like the ultimate, isn't it? Put yourself in another person's shoes. It's this man has been responsible for these atrocities, and he's lost his son doing exactly what he's been doing to other children and what he thinks there's nothing wrong with, and he's getting rid of, as he sees it, vermin, pests, and he's lost the most precious thing in his life. And his reaction in this, when he realises what may have happened, if you're a parent, that pure and utter panic, even if you're not a parent, even if you're like an uncle or an aunt, if you're a parent to fur babies, yes, I am comparing, if you're not a parent and never intend to have children, your pets are your babies. You have that raw love for them. So the thought that something has happened to your baby, regardless, the panic, that sheer bloody minded, oh my God, as a parent myself, the worst thing in the world that could happen to me is something happened to my son. Nothing even gets close to that. You would gladly take a bullet for your child, you would gladly lay down your life for your child, but that bloody minded panic that sets in when you think something may have happened before you find out, the actor in this just put across impeccably. And it was that ultimate, what you've been doing on these other people's now been done on you. You're now in their shoes, you're responsible, you've done this, you're going to have to go back and tell your wife that her son's dead, and it's down to you. It's chilling, completely and utterly chilling, and it really resonated with me. There are movies I could discuss that had major personal ramifications. There's certain things in life you don't really want to talk about, things like, physical attacks and stuff, which I have been party to, so I'm not going to go in and talk about that kind of thing. It's a bit too much for me. But I've been victim of an armed robbery when I worked for Blockbuster, me and another girl, so if I see any movie, at that time, if I saw any movie depicting anybody with balaclavas, it just sent me right back. Because when it happened to me, the guy came in a balaclava, he had a really long hunting knife, he came into the back, the shop was full of people, he went shh as he walked round, we were in the back getting out VHS, maybe it was DVDs, don't remember. And I turned around to come back out of the back with whatever the customer wanted, and there was a guy stood in my face with a balaclava and a big knife. Now, this maybe sounds ridiculous. I would rather he was stood with a gun, because you can't picture what it's like to be shot. You can't picture, the pain or anything else. But if someone stood at you with a bloody knife, you can't take your eyes off it. I couldn't. The other girl was screaming and all sorts, and she said to me after, how were you so calm? You didn't look bothered. I was frozen to the spot in fear. I couldn't move. I'm still really angry that nobody even shouted a warning to us or anything. We could have maybe locked ourselves in the bathroom, but I thought I was fine. Obviously I was really shook up, but a person from victim support came to see us and stuff, and I was like poo-pooing it. I'm like, I'm fine. And they were like, oh, these things can come back and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, don't be silly, away you go. So I'm very stoic as a person. I don't like giving in to stuff like that. I thought, I'm fine, nothing's happened, he hadn't killed me. He stood with a knife to my throat while the other girl emptied the till for him. And I was fine until I was watching an episode of Crime Watch at home one night on my own. I lived on my own at the time as well. And there was a scene where a load of men in balaclavas broke into this couple's house with a knife. And when I saw it, it was like someone had thrown cold water over me. That's how it felt. It was just head to foot. It was horrible. And just for quite a while, if I see balaclavaed men and knives, I don't like it. I struggle with it in a big way. Still to this day, my big pet peeve is people with knives to people's throat. If I see someone with a knife to their throat, I can't look at it. I don't want to see it. It's just, that's like a pretty personal one for me. It's nothing happened to me. I was fine. It was okay. But what runs through your head in those moments when you're in that situation, you don't even want to think about, because it's horrific what goes through your head. And then you have the people, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you pick up the fire extinguisher and hit him with it? And you've people telling you all these things that you should have done when someone was stood with a knife to your throat. And it's very easy when it's not you. So yeah, I struggle with knives to throats. I struggle sometimes if it's a home invasion and it has a lot of similar qualities. I struggle a bit. I struggle really badly with any, for two reasons. I struggle really badly with any themes of SA. I'm not going to say what that is. I struggle if it's done for titillation because it makes me insanely angry. And I struggle if it's really, really accurately depict it, like in the movie Irreversible, where the heinous, horrible thing that it is accurately depicted. I struggle with that as well because I just, personal. Obviously, I'm not going to go into it, but you get what I mean. So yeah, movies have a way of placing you in moments in time. It may be something you look back fondly. It may be something that scares the bejesus out of you. It may be something that you feel a real sense of grief. One was the movie with Nicolas Cage where he wins the lottery and he tips the waiter. What was it called? I think it's called It Should Happen to You. And I had lost my granddad. Now, to give you background, I'm waffling, guys. To give you background on that, I was brought up more so by my grandparents than my parents. My mum was diagnosed with MS when I was 3. She was very ill. So my parents moved in with my grandparents, my mum's parents, and my gran mainly brought me up, and my granddad. So, you know, they were like my parents. And I lost my granddad when I was about 20. My gran when I was about 18. And this movie was on. I love Nicolas Cage and it was really sweet, and he said, oh, I've got no cash, I'll tip you. If I win the lottery, I'll come back with a tip, or I'll split it with you, he maybe said. And he did win the lottery and he did go back. What it is about that movie is there's a song in it. I think it's called Young at Heart. You could even survive to 105 when you're young at heart. Anyway, it was the song my granddad used to sing every Saturday night when he come back from a social club that he used to like to go to have a wee dance. He liked ballroom dancing. And he would come up the stairs, and almost every single Saturday night he would sing this song, and I hadn't heard it since he died. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'd ever actually heard the song before in real life. I'd just heard my granddad sing it, and this song came on the movie. And I was like, it was like shock, and then it was like memory, and then it was like the floodgates opened, and it was like, I'm not a crier. I well up a bit. Movies get to me. TV adverts get to me. TV shows can get to me, but in real life, I'm not a crier. I never have been. I don't really cry at funerals. I tend to be a bottler upper, but then something happens, and typically when my guard is down and I'm watching a movie and something happens, that's it. And that was when the complete grief of losing someone that was like a dad to me, my granddad, came out, simply because I heard that song in that movie. And oh, it's like movies just have this way of doing something to us, of putting us somewhere, of reminding us, and that may be a horrible memory, and that may be a beautiful memory, and just even a way of helping you cope with grief about something, getting you over that hurdle from, I don't want to think about this because I'm too upset to think about it, I'm gonna like completely break down when I think about it, or getting to the point where you're able to hear that song and smile fondly about it and remember, rather than be overcome by grief hearing it. You know, movies have a way, for me as well, I love movies so much, they have a way of evoking every emotion in the world from someone that in real life isn't really an emotive person as such. I don't know why. I'm not a crier, I'm not like an OTT hugger, all of these things. I'm not particularly girly, I'm not any of these things, but put a movie on and I'll cry with the best of them. I will cry at animals, I will cry at mice, I will cry at cartoon things, you name it. They just have a way. Movies have a way of breaking down all those barriers of things that real life doesn't. Does that make sense? So yeah, I wanted to do this one that Leo did. Please watch his entries also, all fantastic choices for fantastic reasons. That was my entries. I think the ones I spoke about at the end are obviously a lot more personal, and I kept them purposely to the end because I know not everyone will watch the whole video, and those of you that do will be the people that probably know me that bit better and that are interested. So I thought I'll keep these more personal things for right at the end. I'll speak about the ones that aren't maybe quite so hard for me at the beginning. So yeah, I hope you got something from that, guys. I would love for any of the rest of you to do one if you so would like to. I love this idea. I think another good idea would be just movies that promote any sort of emotion, whether it be, top 5 movies that make me the most angry. So yeah, I love the idea. Leo, Geek Legion of Doom, please go watch his video. It's an awesome video, fantastic choices, fantastic reasons. You get to know a little bit more about Leo, which is lovely. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you have, guys, feel free to let me know yours in the comments, or even better, feel free to do a video of your own. Thanks for watching, guys. Over and out from Lisa Loves.